This is Don't Panic, episode number 209, recorded July 9th, 2018. Killer Reviews. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Don't Panic, the technology podcast on gadgets, the internet, and you. I'm Sean Jennings, joined as always by two guys who I would appoint to my Supreme Court. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Miller and Colby Rabideau. And Dan, Go. I was going to make a crack about how Colby looks like he's broadcasting from the surface of the moon, for those joining us on the video version.
Yeah, not quite Mars, but moon level for sure.
Yeah, very one small step for man. I like it.
Yep. I'm not on the moon. I'm just in New York.
Close enough. Both are out of this world.
That's true. I told someone at work that on Friday, some friends and I went to open juggling night at Bryant Park, where they just have buckets of juggling stuff and people walking around teaching you how to juggle in the middle of the park. It was great. It was a great New York moment. I suck at juggling. They could not help me.
Oh, man. Earlier tonight, I went to dinner at a restaurant where the air conditioning was clearly broken.
Now, was that on purpose? Is that like, it's like the hot spot and like their gimmick is that the air conditioning is broken?
Like hot yoga?
Yes.
Eating?
Yes, except sweaty, hot, gross eating.
Yeah, I don't think so. We happen to be sitting right next to the thermostat, and the thermostat was clearly set to like 69 degrees, but the temperature, we could also see the actual temperature, which was like 84 degrees.
Ooh.
And there was like a guy who clearly worked for the restaurant who kept coming over and like sort of like looking at the thermostat behind us, like with concern.
It was a bad night to get spicy Indian food.
Yeah.
If you ever want to have that experience, sort of hot yoga but for food, just go to any ramen restaurant in New York in the summer, and you will come out sweating, not from the spiciness, just from, from the steam.
I feel like that happened when we went to that hot noodle place.
Oh yeah.
But that was in the middle.
That was the spice level.
Yeah. That was good.
Man. I know people who can't even eat there. It's just.
I mean, I couldn't eat there, but man, I did again.
But you'd go back.
Yeah.
See,
it was horrible. I loved every minute of it.
I know people that refuse to eat there.
So what's the deal with this? Now it's spicy.
It's called Gion's Famous Foods.
Well, okay, that's specific.
Yeah, and there are several locations throughout New York, and they make a couple things, but they're all pretty spicy. You can ask for it with no spice, which I don't know why you would. How do they describe themselves? I don't know. Szechuan food, I guess, and they hand make the noodles, so the noodles are like super, I don't know, supple and absorbent and delicious. They have these little, I don't know what you'd call them, almost like flatbread burgers, which are apparently pretty good too. But the noodles are where it's at.
Damn. It's hot.
Hand-ripped noodles. It's very spicy. Very good.
Damn.
It tasted good, but it hurt.
Well, you got to suffer for your art.
Right.
Sounds good.
So, 4th of July week.
Come and gone. Man, tough when it's on a Wednesday, although I did joke at work. It was like having 2 Fridays, because Tuesday was kind of like Friday, too. So, Look at it glass half full.
2 Fridays and 1 shitty weekend.
What's wrong with the weekend?
Well, no, like the Wednesday was like a
discount weekend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now I know, Dan, you got stuck in traffic essentially, more or less.
Yeah, the New York at the water traffic.
Saw some fireworks. Colby, did you see any fireworks for the 4th?
Yeah, I went to see the fireworks in downtown Boston, which are pretty serious.
Oh, yeah.
We were watching from the Cambridge side, so we were like downwind of the fireworks, and we got a lot of debris. There was even a parachute at one point, which was pretty crazy. Fireworks have gotten more elaborate since the last time we went to see them. It was cool though. It was pretty easy. Like, I feel like having gone to fireworks on the Boston side, the Cambridge side is like a smidge less chaotic. Like, it was easier to get out. So that was kind of nice. It was like, I don't know. I feel like it only took the whole thing only took like 2.5 hours, like including getting there. So,
no, not bad.
Yeah. Saw some America. Heard the Boston Pops play over speakers.
Oh, that's really cool. I forgot that they did that in Boston.
Yeah. They did 1812 Overture and then did fireworks at the end. So like that's always fun.
Yes.
Classic.
Nice.
Yeah, it was cool. How was yours, Sean?
I didn't do anything. I personally, I know some people share this opinion. I think fireworks are lame. I'm over fireworks. Like, I've seen them. I don't need to see them anymore. Oh, they're overrated.
I agree. I thought, oh wow, the New York fireworks, obviously, you know, one of, if not the most impressive New York or 4th of July fireworks shows that there are. And I was just like, man, I was still kind of waiting for the finale the whole time. And after thinking about it for a while, I agree. It's not that the fireworks were worse this year. I think it's just that, you know, there's only so many times you can see fireworks.
Well, they haven't.
It can only get so crazy.
They haven't really changed or innovated that. I don't think that much over the it's the same fireworks. I was waiting
for some light up drones in the sky.
See, now you're talking.
Right.
It's all the fun of fireworks without the debris.
Yes, or the loud, scary explosions.
I am slowly rewatching season 4 of Arrested Development, and every time you say debris, it's making me laugh.
Oh, that's fun. Are you, not to get off topic, one question. Are you watching the original mix or the remix?
The remix.
Yeah.
I don't remember the original really that much at all, so I don't actually know. I mean, I remember it seems fine. It is a little confusing, but honestly, you just watch it for like the individual vignettes anyways. And if you don't really care,
moments.
It does have good moments.
Yeah.
Like, man, how come no one likes anything in 2018? Did I ask this question in the last episode? No one likes Arrested Development. No one likes Star Wars. People didn't like the last episode of Westworld.
But you know what?
And I liked all of these things.
The thing is, and this is, again, we're going to get so, like, psychological here, but the problem is, I always tell people, because people are always like, God, the world is so much more dangerous now. Like, you go anywhere and you get shot or you get blown up. Like, and I go, no, those crimes are actually not that much higher than they used to be. You just hear about them more. It's like, no, I think the same amount of people who've always hated Star Wars hate Star Wars, and the same amount of people who've always hated this stuff hate it. They're just louder because they have the internet. And so I do think it's baloney that clearly if it wasn't successful, Netflix wouldn't have made a 5th season. So someone likes it, someone's watching it. It's just the no people are louder.
We're all watching it. We just all don't like it.
That also could totally be true. And again, Netflix gets paid either way, so they probably don't care.
Right.
I think that maybe I'll save this for the main topic. Never mind. Or a topic. I think Twitter is actually one of the most unique things that we have. Facebook does not get at the same kind of like societal change that Twitter gets at.
Yes.
We've had Facebook for a long time, which is just a subset of people talking about things. But we've never had all the people talking about all the things.
Well, it's because it's the distinction is Facebook is your friends and your family and your relatives, and it's people you know. Who do you follow on Facebook who you don't know or have met personally?
Right.
You know, so they immediately put up a wall around who you're going to participate with from day one. And have struggled to fight against that ever since. They can only make so much money off your direct family and friends.
Right. I think Twitter will change society more than Facebook will.
You know what? I don't know about that.
Interesting.
I think they will have different impacts. Will one be bigger than the other? I'm not sure, but I think they will. Because whereas I think Twitter,
I don't think Facebook is going to change how society works. Whereas I think Twitter can and maybe has.
I agree with the latter point. I would just say that whereas I think Twitter has more of a political, cultural, economical impact, to me, Facebook has a higher psychological and mental impact, both of which I think are important and relevant to acknowledge. And in a psychological impact on something like Facebook that I don't think, while you get a little bit of, isn't as prevalent on Twitter. Because it's your family and your friends, because it's a different style of network, because it's more personal. I think they kind of complement each other in the horrible things they're doing to all of us.
Yeah. They are definitely complementary.
Yes. Well, that's why, lots of social networks have come and gone, but they survive for a reason.
Well, I think they survive for a reason because they managed to hook the flywheel of success.
Well, true.
And they make too much money for anyone to unseat them.
Well, it's that famous thing where the easiest way to get rich is to already be rich.
Right.
If I hear one more person make a fucking flywheel metaphor.
How often does that happen?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's always in the business context. I hear a lot of that in the internal business presentations at work for the last 5 years. It's all about the flywheel.
It is all about the flywheel.
That's good. I'm going to start using that in business presentations.
Yep. I don't even know what a flywheel is, if I'm being honest. But
to be honest, I don't know what it is either.
Right. The metaphor is really lost on me. All I know is that it's
holy crap, look at this Wikipedia article for flywheels. Look at the size of that thing.
Yeah, your old-timey flywheel.
The Trevithick's 1802 steam locomotive. Look at that flywheel. Oh my god.
It's an impressive flywheel. Common uses of a flywheel include smoothing the power output of an energy source, energy storage systems, delivering energy at rates beyond the ability of an energy source, or controlling the orientation of a mechanical system, gyroscope, and reaction wheel. Wow. So there you go. That's some fresh new jargon.
Huge.
Yeah, are you going to work that into your presentations at work, Sean?
Yeah, I think people were really getting tired of synergy and the lean method and dynamics and things like that. So flywheel, that's good. I'm always looking for new ridiculous jargon.
Excellent.
I'm
happy to help.
It's a hot thing, Sean, especially for SaaS businesses.
For SaaS? You sassy?
SaaS.
Well, we could be roofing as a service. RAS.
Give me Ross.
Ross.
Be real. And then you would just have some sort of vague Friends reference as your logo.
Yes, just a silhouette. Wait, which one was Ross? I never watched Friends.
Me either. I just know he was on there.
Damn, we're
right?
So
Wasn't he a character name?
Yeah, Ross. It was one of the guys.
Yep, it was. Good job. It was definitely a guy.
David Schwimmer was Ross.
Okay. Because it was Matthew Perry, and then who was the one other guy? Joey.
Yep.
He was Chandler, and then Joey was
the guy who played in Friends.
Matt LeBlanc. Matt LeBlanc was the other. I was thinking the guy from Episodes. He's very good in that. Let me if you've ever seen that.
I haven't.
He plays himself. It's satirical. It's very funny. Showtime, I think. Anyhow.
Oh, interesting.
Dan, while we're on the topic of flywheels,
you
brought a topic. Our hey, let's do segment intro. The main topic. You brought a topic for us to discuss. A question you want to pose to the crowd. What would that be?
Yes. So, full disclosure, I got this from Roderick on the Line, but.
Like all great ideas.
But like all great ideas, right. We merely discover things that they've already talked about in Roderick on the Line. That's just the nature of human ideation at this point.
Totally.
So, here's my question. We we tell ourselves this story that, oh, the computers revolutionized society. Things are so much different than they were before. But if you compare this revolution to previous revolutions like electricity, before electricity, you couldn't stay up that long after the sun went down. And you had weird triphasic sleep cycles. And then after electricity, you could stay up all night. You could do all sorts of things. When people could, when the internal combustion engine came out, if you had a farm, in your lifetime, you went from plowing your field with horses to getting a tractor that can do it all so much faster. You could get bigger fields. You could harvest more crops. You could make more money. The planes, you didn't used to be able to go places very quickly. Now you can go places so fast. And so compared to these things, it's really hard to point to something and say, well, before computers, we couldn't do this. And now we can. Asterisk, the thing that you are doing can't be the result of having computers in the first place. So, but with computers, we can do big data machine learning and figure out how to serve ads to people. It's well, we didn't even need to do that before we had computers. So those things sort of cancel each other out. And I think the real meat of this question is, what could we do today that we couldn't do in 1960? Let's start with landing on the moon. From landing on the moon until now, what could a consumer do that they couldn't do in 1969?
I do like that you excluded landing on the moon, which was done with computers.
Yeah,
very nice, Dan. Thank you.
But kind of.
I'm just kidding.
Not. It wasn't really done with computers. The computers weren't good enough. They were using slide rules. Oh, absolutely.
They had some amount of. Anyway, Colby, do you want to answer this one first, or should I start it off?
You go first, Sean.
Because I tend to ramble. No, Dan, I think on some level you're partly right that it is hard to point to something that computers have been able to do that we hadn't been able to necessarily do before. But I think the issue is that when you talk about something like the car or electricity, those are physical things with physical implementations. A car allows me to physically move places, and a light allows to physically light the space. Computers are essentially ones and zeros, right? It's much more metaphorical, so you can't see the difference. And I think to ask the question of what we couldn't do before, I think it's a question phrased in a way that is disadvantageous to the computer in this discussion, because it is an entirely different beast from the comparisons that we're making. I think I could point to a lot of impacts computers have had. I think I could point to things that we will soon stop doing because of computers. And I would argue that the computer's largest impact goes back to a point I was making earlier into the show, which is more of a psychological, mental. You talked about how electricity altered human sleep cycles. I think computers will alter humans' communications patterns. I think it'll alter their travel patterns. There are all sorts of things about the human psychology and physiology I think computers will have an impact on. What can I point to that we can suddenly do now we couldn't do before in the physical world? I agree. That's probably a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah. And things a thing that people bring up a lot is, it's so much easier to do taxes with your computer. And it's not any easier. You either have to learn how to use the software and do it that way, or you pay someone. The old way to do it was pay someone to do your taxes for you because it was too hard to do otherwise. And okay, those two things are different, but is one necessarily better than the other? I don't know. I don't know how much money you're actually saving between the time you spend and the money you actually spend on TurboTax as compared to the old way of paying a tax preparer.
Sure.
So that's just another example.
So here's what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I think that computers it's like an amplifier thing, right? Yeah, it wasn't stuff we couldn't do before, but we could do more of it or mostly more of it, right? There are a bunch of things you can do with I don't know, less effort than it would have taken before. And I don't quite see how that's much different from like some of the examples you mentioned, right? Like electricity, you said I don't know, it like allowed us to stay up really late at night or something, which like electricity didn't allow us to do that necessarily, right? Like we had candles before and fires and stuff. Like we could create artificial light and stay up. It was just way harder. So electricity, like,
and way more expensive,
automated.
More importantly,
yeah, made it cheaper and easier, and like everyone can do it all the time. So like being able to do it all the time, like changes the game. And like subsequently, like the farming stuff too, right? Like you could farm before, like you could plow your field before with horses, and doing it with horses was easier than doing it by hand. But yeah, and then like having machines to do it, like, is a, you know, an order of magnitude like amplifier kind of thing. So like instead of needing, you know, horses and people to do all this stuff, like maybe a couple people could do the work that would have taken dozens of people before. I don't know.
Right. But I think that is true, but I think my point still stands. What things have computers made so much more efficient that it like totally changes the game?
I mean, I think my obvious go-to here would be communication. I think has to be with computer. We were talking about it at the outset of the show, and Facebook and Twitter, and the sort of always on, instant, stream it to the public. There's that old saying of, and again, maybe this is one of those Snopes style, everyone quotes it, but it's not true things where, oh, you know, back in the old days, you never knew more than 250 people in your entire lifetime, and now you encounter that in an hour being on Twitter, and that's, I don't know how accurate that is, but this sentiment still stands true that these days we're just exposed to so much more than we ever have been, in both good ways and bad ways. And I think that more than anything else. Again, it's not, the internet hasn't impacted, I think when I was listening to Colby kind of give some of his examples, I was thinking of books as a good parallel, because when we went from oral traditions to printed books, that was a huge radical change in how we collected and tracked information. Going from the printed book to the digital book, however, it's the same fundamental idea, just amplified and expanded and created in an infinite matter. And I think communication, it's kind of the same thing, where it's just a lot more of it. We're not necessarily communicating in different ways. It's just we're communicating a lot more.
So the only example I've been able to think of is Twitter. Because, you know, Facebook, again, how many people are you interacting with greater than whatever that number is that you're citing? There's a Wikipedia article about that number. Facebook, you're talking to people and you're like showing them pictures, but pictures existed before. Like, okay, but Twitter, you can do something that was you couldn't have like a multicast unless you had a radio show. Like that was the only way that you're going to be talking to a lot of people, and the amount of people who could talk back to you is going to be very limited. So Twitter's the only thing I can think of, which is depressing. Instant messaging, sure, it's different, but like you could talk to all the people that you knew, all those 250 people, pretty quickly in 1969. The phone existed.
Yeah, I guess it's more the bullhorn effect than it is the ability to reach, because you could always reach people. It's just how many people you could reach at once.
Yes, and this is, I think, the only difference. And it's so recent. True,
we're only just discovering it. It took the internet had been around for a while before we really got into this gross part of it. You know, when I think about, God, what are the worst things about the internet, and I immediately think to YouTube celebrities. It's like, why do people give a shit about
YouTube celebrities? Are not the worst part of the internet.
They're just the worst. You know, Instagram celebrities. These people are terrible. Like, why are they
worse? Instagram celebrities or YouTube celebrities?
Oh man, if I could watch like if they ever brought back like a Coliseum fight to the death sort of like Mad Max thing, I would be super against it unless it was Instagram celebrities against YouTube celebrities, and then I would be like, ooh, I want to watch this.
Maybe they'll show that on Instagram TV.
Yeah, yes, but only in vertical video. That's the important thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't quite understand why like YouTube celebrities are any worse than like regular celebrities. But
because I like to imagine at the top of Hollywood, like there's somebody saying, "No, you suck. You shouldn't be famous." Like there's a system in place that weeds out shitty people. Like we look at somebody like, I can't think of a recent Hollywood example, like Rob Schneider, maybe. Like, who's a shitty person in Hollywood? Like a Tom Green,
what's the Dragon Force guy?
Johnny Knoxville.
What happened to Dragon Spirit guy?
Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, Charlie Sheen.
Tiger Blood. You're thinking of Tiger Blood.
Sorry.
But that's what I'm saying. But these are the people who, like, Hollywood at some point says, we've had enough of you. Go away. But with YouTube, we have people, like, doing... I just read the other day that some people died doing a YouTube stunt. I'm like, these people are even stupider than the people in Hollywood. At least in Hollywood, they have someone sells them to stop.
That just means it's been industrialized. We just haven't fully industrialized YouTube yet. You know that there are Twitch streamer agents now?
Yeah, there should be. I think that's great. I don't mind when they make the leap to like actual good content, but
I'm not saying their content's good. I'm saying they make so much money that now there is an industry around representing them for business deals.
Oh, I'm sure there's very good money in it.
Now, I have a question.
Go for it.
Do you guys think you actually know any more people than you would have like 50 years ago? I think I know the same amount of people. It's just that like the people that I know, like some of them are not co-located with me. Like right. You guys, for example, like we don't live in the same place and have not for years. But we like keep in touch pretty well because we do a podcast and like hang out one or more times a week on virtually.
I think the number that Sean is citing, which I'm going to try to look up because I don't remember what it's called, would say no. I think that I have met people. I have actually met people on Twitter, not that I feel like I know them, but because of Twitter, I've then met them in real life, and I don't think that would have happened. Like there wasn't a grand forum of chemical engineers in 1969. There was maybe like the American Chemical Engineer Association conference that you go to once a year, but there was no like constant here's this like newsletter that comes out every week, not just like a monthly thing, and anyone can contribute to it, and that allows you to actually get to meet people. So I think the answer is yes, but I think this number would tell you no.
I think it depends on how you define no. Right? How do you know a person? I think there are people I follow on Twitter and Instagram and listen to their podcasts and watch them on YouTube that I know where they live. I know what their job is. I know what's going on in their lives. I know who they're married to. If you watched every episode of Don't Panic, I would argue you'd know us because we talk a lot about what's going on. We talk about when we're moving. We talk about when we're on vacation. It depends on how you define no. There are people who I know way too many details about their lives and I've never met or interacted with them. And in that respect, I know a lot of people.
Interesting.
And that weird. That freaks me out. That's insane to me. That there are people halfway around the world who, in any other situation, we would never know each other existed. But through some fluke of like, oh, somebody retweeted them and they sounded interesting, so I followed them. Now I know everything about them. It's crazy. And that's a big change. That would have never happened.
The number is Dunbar's number, the cognitive limit to the number of people whom one can maintain stable social relationships. The number was first proposed in the 1990s. He proposed that humans can comfortably maintain only 150 stable relationships.
For me, it's like 15. That's pushing it.
They defined it as the number of people you would not feel embarrassed about joining uninvited for a drink if you happen to bump into them at a bar.
Oh, God, that's like 6 people.
Yeah. But isn't that interesting, though? I bet if you did a survey now among people our age, internet savvy people, I bet that number would be lower than if you conducted that survey 20 years ago among the similar age group. Because the difference is, if it was which people do you feel comfortable getting a drink with unannounced, or what people would you jump on a Fortnite stream with? Seriously, I think in a virtual versus a real environment, I think today that does make a big difference in that number, in that theory.
Yeah. I'd be curious to see that study redone. I have another question, but if anyone has any other thoughts about things that have changed, I'd love to hear them. Okay.
Yeah,
Hearing none, do you think that computers will change something fundamental about how we live our lives in the future? Let's say in the next 10 years.
I have a problem with the question because the word computer is very vague to me. Because what is a computer?
Well,
you know?
Well, yeah.
Is a self-driving car a computer?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, it contains a computer.
And it wouldn't be possible without computers.
But I could say colonization of space.
You think that's going to happen in the next 10 years?
Well, if Elon Musk has his way, when he's done saving all those Thai kids trapped in a cave with his fancy submarine,
right?
He's going to take us all to space.
Okay.
No.
Now, what will have happened? Like, that doesn't.
No, I'm just joking on that.
Yeah.
No. I honestly think that it is a psychological and not a physical change we will see over the next 10 years, and I do think there will be a big impact. And I don't think we as a human collective are equipped or prepared or ready to handle the ramifications.
Do you have a prediction on what this psychological thing will be?
I think this is going to sound really lame, like I'm not really trying to think of a clever theory, and I'm not, but I think it's just going to be a continuation of the direction we've seen things going over the last 2 to 3 years. I think you'll see more extreme opinions. I think you'll see more animosity between people. I think you'll see a continued rise in mental health afflictions and drug addictions. I think you'll see increases in all sorts of things that come with a society that is bombarded with too much information that's oftentimes not accurate, not healthy, that is slanted or inappropriate, that is purposefully crafted in a way to alter their views and opinions of the world in a way that they've never been bombarded with before.
Colby.
Please say something positive.
Please clap.
Sunshine and rainbows. Everything will be fine.
Yay! Colby says it has to be true.
I don't know. Like, I feel like I think that it'll fade. I think we'll get used to all the stuff, like the stuff that is new and like so attention grabbing now. I think given enough time, like a couple years or a decade or something, like I think it'll be sort of like fade from our. I don't know. Maybe that's like naive, but I think we'll just get over it, sort of. Maybe that's not true. Like, maybe we won't figure it out, and maybe we'll just, I don't know, crash and burn. But like,
what are these things you're talking about that will fade from my memory? But what's an example?
Like, I feel like maybe there's like all of a sudden we can like know so many things about what other people think in a way that we wouldn't have known before, and like Perhaps it's I'm not sure that like people thinking those things is a new thing. But I think like knowing that there are people who think those things is more of a new thing.
Yeah.
And so like I think it's that I don't know, like I think we're still getting acclimated to that. Like knowing, like really knowing. Like, in the past it was like I don't know, there were the things you didn't talk about or whatever. So it was like even if there were people around you who thought that way, like you easily might never know that. And so like you could go about your life like, well, this is fine. Everything's fine. Like, I don't know where those people are who think those bad things, but they're not here. But now you can't. Whether or not, even if they're not, people in real life or have known in real life or are connected to somehow, like you still, I guess you can. I feel like you can still be aware of those things in a more, I don't know, a more efficient way.
Back to efficiency. So I accept that. I think that if we do get self-driving cars, that'll be a game changer. I think it'll be a game changer. That'll actually change people's like day-to-day lives. If cheap and available self-driving cars happened, you would be more productive every day. You would be a more efficient person. You could do so much more.
Yeah, but I think... See, I agree with you, and what I was going to say is to give a more straightforward answer than my first... So I'll do a second attempt at my answer, which is I think automation is an incredibly important step in the future, even in the near future. But I think we're going to see a bigger impact in jobs, in automation. I think even more so than cars or transportation. I think just the idea, and not just in manufacturing. I'm talking, there was an article the other day in the Times or the Post or something about a company that is generating T-shirts that are selling like crazy. And they don't have designers anymore. Computers design the T-shirts. Like in all these jobs where not just manufacturing, but creative jobs and flipping hamburgers at McDonald's. I think we're going to see a real upheaval of whole sections of the population who have been essentially replaced with machines. And it sounds a little cheesy because they've been warning about this for the last 2 decades. But I think now we're finally at the point where the technology is getting good enough that it's not just welding cars in a factory somewhere. Robots are going to actually start doing things that we do.
Now, what makes you think that this time is different from the past 20 years of people saying this is going to happen?
Because like all technology, it just takes time to work the bugs out. And I feel like we finally gotten to the point where processing power is getting good. Early AI is starting to get good. I'm not an expert in any of these things, but what the media tells me is that we're much closer to it. I see those Boston Dynamics videos of the robot that they try and push over with the stick, and they can't push it over with the stick. Like, I just feel it's going to be slow and it's going to take time, but I think that's going to be the change you're going to... I think self-driving cars, I agree with you, Dan, especially in things like trucking. Long-distance trucking, I think, is where you're going to see self-driving cars have an even bigger impact in logistics and things like that. I think personal driving cars, I think it'll have a little bit of impact, but I think that'll be more of kind of a fun thing more than a game changer.
Thing.
I think it is. I do. I think if I bought a self-driving car, how much would it radically change my life?
What about the person who has to live 2 hours outside of New York because they can't afford to live any closer? If a self-driving car costs just as much as a regular car, and they have to commute an hour to the train station anyways,
but then
that saves them 14 hours a week.
But then now we're getting to a whole other discussion, because then I'm going to get to the point where I say, well, now we're just we're creating new problems to solve existing problems, which is the answer for everyone to have a self-driving car because they live 2 hours away from the city? Or is it to create more job opportunities outside the city, or to invest more in public transportation? Or, then we get to a crazy thing where is it really very good for the planet, for our country to all have self-driving cars?
Okay, yeah, sure, but that's not the point.
No, it's not the point at all.
Someone like that, or someone who has like a disability, would be their life, they could look back
sure.
at like the first half of their life and be like, wow, it's so much better now because of this one thing.
I 1,000,000% agree, and there have been a ton of medical innovations and other types of innovations that have helped those populations over the years that haven't made a big impact on all of us.
Yeah, I think, genome sequencing.
Oh, sure.
Is another one that I've accepted as a correct answer.
Oh, do you have like a list we can look at of all the acceptable...
It's like, it's Twitter, genome sequencing, and if people could actually get self-driving cars.
I'm down for Dan's future.
The other thing, though, I think could happen, like, and I just came up with this just now as we were talking. You were speaking about people, if someone were to watch our program, hello, anyone, they would have a very accurate understanding of our lives and of our thought processes and all sorts of things. And if you ever watched one of my favorite stupid TV shows, Caprica, if you could basically build a sophisticated Markov bot of speech from a podcast and all their Facebook posts and all their Twitter posts and all their text messages, then what can you do? You could impersonate people instead of Photoshop pictures. You could completely fabricate someone's statement.
Yep.
You could, not actually, but sort of simulate a dead person talking about random things. And I think that, that's also an example of a societal thing. Like, if you could do that, it would be a weird place, but things would be very different. I'm not sure they'd be better, though. So maybe that's not a good answer for that question. Genome sequencing, self-driving cars. What was the other one?
Twitter.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Dan's future. We just all live in it.
You're muted, Colby.
Am I?
No.
Yeah. Oh, now you're not.
No.
Okay.
I don't know. The like infinite automation stuff is so weird to think about. Like, I don't know. Is there some, I don't know, theoretically, right, there's some inflection point where you have the tools start making the tools or something, like,
right.
Yeah, it's called Terminator. We did that.
Well, if you take it to on an infinite time scale, at some point we don't have to do anything anymore. But then once we don't have to do anything, what is going to happen? And two, what do we do? And
there are several science fiction novels that deal with this, but
I'm certain that there are, and also I don't know.
Colby, you will become a fleshy battery for the machines. Okay, you will be used as a power source.
That's true.
It doesn't pay very well, but it's got great benefits.
In a way, aren't we already fleshy batteries for the Facebook ad machine? I don't know.
That should be their marketing slogan, because that is great. I love that.
Yeah, that should be part of their apology campaign.
Yes, we're sorry we treated you like fleshy human batteries.
I think, though, that they made this point in the Roderick on the Line episode. If that was going to happen, why aren't we working 30-hour work weeks at this point? Instead, most people are working 60-hour work weeks. What happened?
Yeah, well,
things are more efficient. No one's denying that, but that efficiency has not led to any actual change in our lives. Instead of pushing paper, you're pushing web pages.
It's not that technology is holding people back; it's that people's holding technologies back. The people are the problem. Yeah, boom.
What a slogan. That's one of those block quotes we would put in the article that we write after this.
Yes, big, bold, pull quote. I love it.
Full quote. There we go. You think we're holding technology back, Sean?
I do. I think there are many aspects where technology. You just pointed out a couple of really great examples. We are training. I guess we can consider still ourselves young people. Young people to do things faster and more efficiently when using computers. Something I can. If you gave myself and a 60-year-old colleague of mine the exact same job, I know for a fact I can do it faster. that's just the way it is. I hate to break it to you. It's because I grew up using computers, so I use them faster. That's just the reality. Yet I have to work the same number of hours, even though I can do the work faster. So I just think that institutions are slower to catch up to technology. I think our government has proven that time and time again. Business as well. So I think even when the technology's there, people might not be at a place where they can fully utilize it.
Yeah. I feel like we've talked about this before, but I think like in a way that like the sort of amplification that we were talking about, sometimes it outpaces the models upon which the like structures of society are built. And when that happens, like you start like you start playing like a metagame with technology where you're not like actually creating value for money. You're just creating money with money you're creating money for money, like out of nothing. And the nothing is just like the sort of the edge case of a system that was designed 300 years ago that is like, like been pushed to its limits. And now it's just like a weird metagame now. Right. Like, I think this, like, every time I get too deep at reading or about like financial stuff, like investing stuff, when you have like futures and derivatives and like the like sub trading things where it's like so far removed from the thing. Like what is it even? Like when banks are like selling futures on like mortgage debt, or I don't know if that's a real thing. I'm just trying to come up with some crazy shit.
Sure.
But I don't know. It's interesting.
Now, guys, we have gone 50 minutes talking about this. And we are on track to have this be only the second ever Don't Panic episode to not include technology news. So it's up to you guys if we want to try and squeeze in one story, if we should travel right along to picks.
Oh, I hadn't even looked at the stories yet. I've been so into it.
There's a reason why we didn't talk about tech news. The July 4th holiday kind of...
If you're going to do one story, there's only one story that we should do.
And that is...
And we have to talk... If we're going to talk about one, we have to talk about the internet balloons.
We got to bring it back. The first ever story we ever covered on Don't Panic, 6 years ago? If you can believe it. I just thought this was fun. Project Loon from X, the Google's innovation lab, Alphabet's innovation lab. Kenya announced this week they will use that system of balloons to beam high-speed internet access across the country. It was used by U.S. telecom operators to provide connectivity to more than 250,000 people in Puerto Rico after a hurricane last year. There are no details into exactly how many balloons it will take or how the project will work, but with more than 45 million people, Kenya's major cities and towns are sometimes covered, but vast swaths of rural Kenya are not covered. So, there you go.
And relatedly, didn't Facebook announce last week that they are not going to be doing their internet gliders anymore?
Yeah, they actually, it's funny enough, they actually killed a couple of drone projects because you're right, they announced the sort of flying airplane looking drones. That project's dead. And then was it today or earlier this week, they announced they were killing another internet related drone project.
They had two?
I'm trying to find the exact... the helicopter internet project.
They had a helicopter?
Yeah. The Tether Tenna, a small helicopter drone that could temporarily replace cellular service in emergency situations, was discontinued a few months after being shown off at the F8 developer conference in May of last year.
Wow.
Well,
yep.
So I just realized... half a decade later, that Loon is like a balloon. It's part of.
I didn't realize that until just now. So
it's part of the.
It only took you 6 years, but you got there.
Yeah. It's kind of a crazy idea, so they're kind of loony to try it.
Yeah. It works on multiple levels, and I wasn't thinking about any of them. So
2013 Colby was not there yet. You've got a lot to learn.
That is awesome. All right, guys, why don't we shuffle right along to picks? We got in our one tech news story, unless there was really another one in here you guys wanted to cover. No. Okay, that's fine. I know everyone was excited for the potential new iPhone colors, but
I am excited about red. If there's a red iPhone that is a top of the line iPhone,
can't you already get a red one? Don't they
I've never had a red iPhone. You know, I've only ever had the options that we have now is the most options I've ever had, unless I got a 5C.
I think that blue looks nice. Anyhow.
Well, we don't actually know what it's going to look like.
No. Speculation. All right, well, let's move on to picks. This is part of the show where each of us brings something we want to share with the world, and we've got quite a mix here today. Let's start from the bottom and work our way up. Colby, what do you have for us?
All right, I have so many caveats before I talk about this. I am picking this thing 100%.
Oh my God!
In spite of the marketing around this thing, it's a backpack.
Did you buy this on the Alex Jones website?
Exactly. No, it's a backpack. The marketing is very tactical.
There's a guy standing, laying down in grass that is not well kept.
He's doing
push-ups with this backpack on.
Yes.
In the middle of what is definitely a California suburb.
Right. If you're not looking at the website for this, just to give you an idea, like 1 in every 3 pictures on this website has guns in it. Wait. The one with the guy in his underwear and a t-shirt with an American flag surrounded by guys behind him who look like they've just been blown back by a nuclear explosion, but they are also all wearing their backpacks on their chest. It's so
What
dumb.
the hell is going on?
It's so dumb. Now, this is linked to in the Wirecutter's backpacks review. And that's where I came across it. And I thought I've been thinking for 3 months about what I actually want for a backpack. Cause for the entirety of doing this show, I've just used backpacks that I got from whatever company I worked at. And mostly it's been fine, but I thought long and hard about what I actually wanted from a backpack. And this backpack has the 2 things that I really wanted. So the one thing, there's a third bonus thing, is that while their marketing is ridiculous, the backpack itself is actually relatively mild. They come in normal colors. It's not just camo or anything. I got the gray one, and it just looks like a gray backpack. So as for the important things, the first one is that it's one big pouch. There's only one pouch, so it doesn't have the sub pouches, because I'm not a student anymore. I don't need to keep my papers separated from my books or something. So it's one big pouch. In the pouch, it unzips all the way, so you can flop it open like a suitcase, which is excellent because if you're doing, I'm in New York right now. I packed just this backpack, so it's perfect for that. And then the second thing is that the laptop pouch is a separate compartment, and it's on the outside of the bag. So I can take my backpack out. I mean, I can take my computer out of my bag without disturbing all the precariously stuffed in shit that's in the front pocket. And that's all. And it does exactly those things perfectly. And I was waiting. So I've had it for a month now, maybe. And I was waiting to do a New York trip with it to see if it actually worked the way I was hoping it would. And so far it has. So that's my pick. Just avert, do the see no evil monkey. And when you look at the website, but look at the backpack somehow. It's very.
The laptop compartment is bomb-proof.
Yeah, it's not really bomb-proof. I don't know how to get off.
It says bomb-proof. Have you tested? You got to test it.
If you watch the videos on the website, the guy's like, it's not actually bomb proof. Like, don't set a bomb off next to the backpack. And I was like, how can you get off saying that if it's not true?
It's also, I love in the video that because it is, I guess, waterproof, that every other shot is them dunking it in water or mud or some other liquid.
So the thing, apparently the company that makes these has like, they run like events or something where people go and they like put weights in their backpack and go like run around in the woods together or something. Like, I don't get it.
I would
don't understand.
I would pay cash money to have you, Colby, run in one of those.
Boy, I don't want to do
that. Because that sounds awesome. Oh, there you go. Yeah, it says right here, ruck plates. You can get them 10, 20, 30, or 45-pound increments. Go right in the laptop compartment.
Yep.
Okay. It's got a hydration port. Yeah, this thing is dope. GoRuck is the name of the company. GoRuck.com is the GR1. We'll have the link on the website. You can check it out there. It comes in many different colors. Very cool. All right.
Thank you, Colby.
Dan, you've got something for us to watch. What is this?
Oh, yeah. So I watched
this show is hot.
On my most recent flights. Yeah, have you heard of it?
I follow a ton of critics on Twitter, TV critics, and this is like their big rave must-watch. Why aren't more people watching this show?
Yeah, so one reason is it is British, so it's BBC. And so I don't know if it's on. I don't know if you can actually watch it in the United States, but you can buy it on iTunes, which is what I did, because I also heard amazing things about it. And it's about two women, one of whom works for the equivalent of the, United Kingdom CIA, MI5, the one below James Bond, and she has like this boring job. It becomes like really, she thinks she's found this, this pattern in these crimes across the world, and thinks that there's an assassin, which we as a viewer know that there is, and it's this like crazy other woman who is young and lives life to the fullest and buys all the best clothes and goes on these like crazy missions and is very creative in her job. And it's parts of it are funny, parts of it are scary, parts of it are like very dramatic, like these two women becoming more and more obsessed with each other in these weird ways. And then you're just like kind of waiting, like, when is it going to come to a head? When are they going to meet? Beautifully shot, really fun to watch, really fun just to look at the scenes. Killing Eve is the name of the show, and you can get it on iTunes. I think you can get it on Amazon, but you can't get it on any streaming things unless you maybe live in the UK, in which case you've got that government-funded television channel.
I think I'm assuming, is it also airing on BBC America?
Oh, yeah. Is that a thing?
Yeah, and I think if you have a cable subscription, I know most of their shows you can log into their app with your cable subscription, and you don't hold me to it, but you probably can stream it there. Because I think that's how most of the U.S. people I know who are watching it, that's how they're watching it. So, very cool. Killing Eve. Very nice. Yeah, I get the award for lame pick of the night. Because I'm not really watching anything interesting or reading anything interesting. I haven't really bought anything interesting. But I did make this great recipe for lemony shrimp risotto. And whoa! It is one of my all-time favorite go-to recipes. This was a HelloFresh box recipe that I love so much. I've made it a dozen times. It's very easy to make. If you've never made a risotto, they make it sound like it's really hard. It's not that hard. It takes time. But you can't fuck it up too much. And this recipe, it's very simple. It's only got a handful of ingredients. It's very smooth with the arborio rice. It's in a chicken stock, so you get flavor from that, flavor from the shrimp, flavor from the lemon. It's got a nice lemon flavor to it. Some Parmesan cheese in there, zucchini, shrimp. It's a really great recipe, easy to make. I make it in a double batch and have some leftovers for the week. And all risottos are good, but this one's particularly great. So I'll have the link on the website. You can check it out there. Lemony shrimp risotto, my pick of the week. If you're looking for something different to try.
It's hard to make, Sean.
They say that. I have not found it hard to make. I have cooked it Not just, I have a couple of risotto recipes I make, and I've only ever fucked it up, I think, once, and I've done it well over.
You don't find it laborious? It's easy to get right. It's just a lot of work.
These are simple risottos, though, and it's you just have to stand there and keep stirring it. It's not the end of the world. That's I don't think. Yeah. So give it a shot. If you've never done it, I would say it's worth trying. Again, it's only a handful of ingredients, so you're not out too much if you screw it up. And check it out. Although I do miss my Gulf Coast shrimp. Can't get good shrimp up here.
No.
I do miss that. Those fresh HEB shrimps. Ooh. But anyway. All right. Hey, you know what, guys? We're done.
We're done.
What a fascinating edition of Don't Panic this has been. A real hoot. They should have no news more often. Because then we'd be off on tangent. Hey, you know what? Folks out there, if you like this sort of tangent-filled, wide-reaching philosophical version of the show, let us know. Don'tPanicShow@gmail.com or tweet at us @Don'tPanicShow. Or if you hated it, we'd also like to know. So you give us your feedback. We always appreciate that. You can subscribe to the show anywhere you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Overcast, and of course the video version is on YouTube. And you can go to our website, don'tpanic.io, get all the episodes as well as our picks are there every week. In case you don't remember, the links will be there directly. We do the show live Monday nights, roughly 10:15 Eastern, at facebook.com/don'tpanicshow and on Twitch at twitch.tv/don'tpanicshow. I recommend subscribing to us on those platforms. I do want to thank everybody who joined us live tonight. And I did a very bad job because we were so engrossed in conversation. We had comments. I very rudely ignored them, and I'm very sorry.
Come on, Sean.
Thank you. I'm a jerk.
Do we have to get someone else for this?
We really could use like a production intern. If you're interested in applying to be our production intern, don'tpanicshow@gmail.com. I do want to thank Nancy Miller, Emily, and Zach, who just said we should publish the podcast to Google Play as well. I believe we're on Google Play. We were on the old version of Google Play Podcasts. I don't think we have to resubmit for the new one, but I'm going to double check. But I believe we're there. We're on Stitcher as well. If there's anywhere we're not, please let me know, and I'm happy to submit us. We're still not on Spotify.
Oh, my God. If only we knew someone.
You know, it's a shame. I guess we'll never be there. Okay. That's right. I've looked at our Stitcher stats, and we are...
Doing great.
Doing great. We're crushing it. Knocking it out of the park. You know, if you believe that. But yeah, that about wraps it up here. I'll just quickly plug Up for Debate at upfordebate.tv. With Matt and I, we ended up having to cancel last week's show. We're still going to do one on burgers. I don't know when we're going to do it, but just go to the page and subscribe. You can get that there. And the Movie League is continuing as well at upfordebate.tv/movies. Our Summer Movie League is continuing. We haven't done an update on that in a while, but it's getting interesting. Things are heating up in the Movie League. But that is that. So we will wrap it up here. Thanks, everybody out there, for joining us, as always. We appreciate it. On behalf of Colby and Dan, I'm Sean. We will see you next week for more tech news, a lot more tech news, and good times here on Don't Panic.